Hey, Mavericks fans, I know it's tough right now facing a 3-0 deficit in the Western Conference Finals. And let's be honest, the center position's been a problem. So on today's show, we'll take a look at 5 bigs the Mavs could sign this offseason. But before we get to that, we have a challenge going on here at Chat Sports because someone commented 53 separate times on one of our other YouTube videos on one of our different channels. So MFFLs, I'm challenging you. Let out your hatred on this video. Hell, say, FGSW for, bleep Golden State Warriors on the show. Will any of you comment 54 times or more? I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if you're up to the challenge. You can comment anything, but it's got to be 54 separate comments. Let's set the record. Let's set the standard here at Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. And with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. Yes, the Warriors lead the Western Conference Finals 3-0. We're going to look ahead to the offseason. If the Mavs get back into the series, we'll talk a little hoops. But the bigs, Kleber, Powell, hasn't been pretty. So we're going to take a look at 5 bigs Dallas could go out and sign this offseason. And let's look at what the Mavs currently have in their front court depth. It ain't pretty. Dwight Powell, he's been garbage. Maxi, Kleber, I think he's a good backup 4 or 5 flex bigs. He can't start. They're asking him to play way too much. He hasn't been that good in this series. Bertans, he's a shooter. That's it. Boban Marjanovic, he's Luka's good pal. They drink beers together. I mean, that's kind of what you have at the center position. You got to get better. This Warriors series has made it very clear that the Mavericks have got to get better at the center position. You need someone who can rebound, someone who can score around the basket. I mean, I'm shocked that Dwight Powell's given you nothing in this series. I think this was the series for him to prove, like, hey, I had to go up against Gobert and Ayton in the first 2 rounds. Kevon Looney, I can hold my own. Not even close for Dwight Powell. He's not it. Kleber hasn't been at this series. Again, I will stick up for Kleber a little bit. Good defender. He's been pretty decent in the playoffs, albeit not in this series. Either way, you got to upgrade. You do not have a starting caliber 5 on this roster, and that is going to have to change this offseason. And quite frankly, I think it'll be an area of focus for Dallas. So before we dive in to those 5 free agent centers that I think the Mavericks could go out and target, name a big man that you want the Mavs to go out and sign. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. Shout out a big in the comments that the Mavs should sign in free agency. All right, let's take a look at 5 bigs Dallas could go after. How about Mitchell Robinson, who is currently with the New York Knicks, set to be a free agent this offseason? I like Mitchell Robinson. He's a guy that I think could average near a double-double for the right team because he almost did it for the Knicks this year. 8.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, gets almost 2 blocks per game. He knows his role. He's not going to force it. 76% from the field. He's just cleaning up around the basket. Good defender, good rebounder, good shot blocker, decent offensive arsenal. He would be a much better big than what you currently have. He's a good athlete, so he gives you some above the rim ability as well, where Powell gives you that occasionally, but it has not shown up in the playoffs. This would really increase the Mavericks' athletic profile, especially down low. You need a guy that can clean up the glass, outwork for rebounds, and just be a good athlete down low, an explosive player. Dallas doesn't have that. Let's be honest. I mean, they just do not have that type of a player. Mitchell Robinson is big, he's physical, and he's athletic. I think he'd be fun here in Dallas. Number 2, another guy that I've really grown on, that is Mo Bamba, the former big out of Texas. So he'd be coming back to an area that he's fairly comfortable with in the great state of Texas. Now, Mo Bamba, before this season, kind of looked like a bust, but he started to get better and better each year. And then this year, he really took a leap. He had the best year of his career with the Orlando Magic, took advantage of them trading Nikola Vucevic last trade deadline, and got consistent minutes this year. You look at the numbers, kind of the increase every single year from Mo Bamba. This year, he gets you 10.5 points, over 8 rebounds. Good shooter. He can stretch out to the mid-range and the occasional 3-point shot as well. Almost 2 blocks per game. Again, I want a guy who can contest shots and get rebounds. And Mo Bamba, Mitchell Robinson, those are 2 guys that can do that. Now, Bamba's not an elite roller by any means. He's more of a pop guy offensively, but that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with that as well. It's not like Dwight Powell shooting that elbow J by any means. So I like Mo Bamba. He is a restricted free agent, so you may have to slightly overpay for him. So I'll set the mark at $10 million. Would you pay Mo Bamba $10 million per year? Type Y for yes, type in for no. There's a report out of Orlando. If they draft Chet Holmgren number 1 overall, keeping Mo Bamba probably won't happen. And if he hits the market, I think Dallas would be a good fit for him because you could promise him that he'll start and that he'll be starting for a contending team as well. Could be a win-win for both parties. Now, Mavericks fans, YouTube has added a feature called Super Thanks. If you've ever watched our live shows, there's a Super Chat feature where you can donate money and support the show, which we appreciate everybody who's done that in the past. Super Thanks allows you to do that on just our normal everyday videos that we publish on the channel. It's right next to the like button. It's a little heart icon. You click the thanks icon. You can send in a custom message or a question. Anybody that Super Thanks will get a shout out on a future show. And look, we appreciate the support. Every single dollar helps, and obviously not a requirement, but anybody that wants to send one in, we'll shout you guys out. We'll answer your question if you have one on a future show. So go ahead and get those flowing in the comments, and we definitely appreciate it here on Mavericks Today. Let's get to our next big that Dallas could sign. How about Jusuf Nurkic, who a few years ago I would have been much higher on this idea, but I don't think he's a great fit because a couple of things. Number one, not a great defender. Good rebounder, but not a great defender. And number two, a lot of injuries. I mean, he's had a lot of injuries with the Portland Trailblazers. I'm not completely dismissing it. He would be an upgrade over what you currently have. But at the same time, Robinson and Bamba are guys I would much rather have. And I don't think the money would be crazy different either. I think he'd be cheaper than those guys, but I don't think he'd be astronomically cheaper. How about Ivica Zubac? We're familiar with him with those 2 Clippers series in the past couple of playoff seasons. With the Clippers, he's a free agent. He could be looking to cash in this offseason. Maybe a target for the mid-level. We'd have to wait and see. Now, I've always liked Zubac. I mean, averaged almost a double-double this year, 10 points, 8.5 rebounds. Like the first 2 guys we mentioned, he knows his role. He's not going to, take crazy shots. He'll give you an occasional block as well. Not an elite defender, but better than Nurkic. Not as talented offensively, but he's definitely on the Mavs killer list. I will tell you that. The versus the Mavericks all-star team. I mean, you run a little pick and roll, DJ Augustine and Ivica Zubac. Those guys are all pros when they face the Mavericks. But in all seriousness, I'm a fan of his game. I don't think he'd be a massive upgrade over what you have, but I do think he's better than Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber. The Clippers will probably pick up his option that they have for him, but maybe he's a trade candidate as well. We'll see how their roster comes together with Kawhi Leonard set to come back this season. But I think Ivica Zubac's a guy to monitor this offseason as a potential sign or trade target if his option gets picked up. Hit that subscribe button here on Mavericks Today. Hopefully the Mavs force a Game 5, and if they do, we'll talk about it here on the channel. But also, we're going to do a big man trade candidates video coming up later on, whether it's this week or next. We're taking up 5 free agent targets. We'll take a look at some trade options as well. So subscribe and join us here on Mavericks Today. More videos to come throughout the offseason. Let's talk about the obvious one, Deandre Ayton. And I say obvious from an NBA free agency standpoint, maybe not for the Mavs because, he's going to cost a lot of money. You're going to have to move some money around realistically to bring in a guy like Deandre Ayton. But 2 months ago, you would have said, he'll just re-up with the Suns. There's no way he hits free agency. That series against Dallas, shout out to Luka and the boys for knocking out Phoenix, did not end well for Deandre Ayton. Apparently, he refused to go back into the game in Game 7. There seemed to be some hostility from Monty Williams when they asked him about not playing him more, and he said that was an internal matter. Plus, they couldn't agree to an extension last offseason, so there's already maybe a little bit of friction. Could you imagine teaming up the former number 1 overall pick with the number 3 pick from that draft in Luka Doncic? I think they would fit well together. I think Ayton fits good with Luka's game. Now, again, you're probably going to have to give him at least the John Collins contract, which is $25 million per year. But his game fits. It fits with Luka. It fits really, really well with Luka. Dare I say perfectly. I think it would be a nice fit for DeAndre Ayton to come play with Luka in Dallas. Now he's restricted. The Suns are going to have to, make a decision on what they want to do. I could see Phoenix just letting him sign an offer sheet somewhere, whether it's with Dallas or someone else, and then deciding whether or not to match it because he is restricted, so they will have that option. I think his free agency is the most interested interesting one in my opinion. I'll be very curious to see A, what he gets, and B, if Phoenix ends up matching it. All right, so there you go. There's 5 guys to monitor on the free agent market. We'll ask you guys again, pen, comment, reply there. Name a big man the Mavericks should sign in free agency. We'll do trade targets, but these are free agent options for Dallas. Let's hear it down in the comments. Who do you want the Mavs to go out and sign at the center position?